and Japan, and also in trade restriction. Okay, so moving on to the status quo. So the urgency that we can see, the current condition that is happening in the world right now is that both the Biden administration and the China are huge forces in the world. We cannot deny that. And both of them are huge competitors. Okay, so far, Joe Biden, during his first 100 days as a president, has adopted a China strategy that differs little from the Trump administration, with most of the confrontational measures intact, such as economic barriers and human rights criticisms. China-US relations are still at their lowest point in the last 4 decades. That is what is the urgency right now. But it is not a surprise to say that relationship is in a very bumpy start. And one of the reasons is that Biden inherited a toxic relationship with China that was largely guided by the Donald Trump zero-sum, unilateralist, and protectionist approach. So the near continuous downward spiral in China-US relations since 2018 has left Biden little room for maneuvering the relationship of US with China. Okay, so the mechanism, if the relationship between the US and the China should be amendment and should be repaired, is that we believe that both countries are huge competitors, but the competition itself should not be viewed as a destructive force, but instead it should be viewed as bringing something good for both countries and for the mankind as a whole. Okay, so this can be achieved by creating good means of communication between China and US, which is by diplomatic relationship, because good means of communication, without good means of communication, it can lead to lack of the escalation of mechanism. For example, there can be accidents, miscommunication, and miscalculation between these two countries. As second mechanism is to allow and maintain China's export economy into the US and also outside of the US into the China. So this will return the rules-based free market trade to relations. And the third mechanism is to build US-China cooperation, which can eventually build opportunities to develop and improvise sectors from both countries and also other countries involved, such as the economy, education, and the cultural ties. Okay, so the burden of proof that I would like to give to the opposition side is that I would like the opposition side to prove to us that by not repairing the relationship, by continuing the aggressive containment of between US and China, will not bring any benefits to the US. Okay, in the forms or in the points of the occurrence of war, in the terms of health and also the economy. So moving on to my first substantive point, which is the occurrence of war, because there is a clashes between two huge forces, which are the US and China. So we know that both countries are very powerful forces, and the United States itself has always been focusing on their military power. Okay, so they even supply sufficient weapons and gears to other minor countries, for example, Israel, Turkey. Okay, so but currently, China is striving and rebuilding their military powers, focusing on improving their military powers. So this shows that they are chasing the US in terms of military powers, and one day might win over the United States itself. So what happens when there are wars between these two countries is that there will be affected all the other minor countries as well. So imagine the other powerful countries such as Israel and Turkey, which is under the side of US at this current state, will eventually turn to China, which is currently developing and might take over US one day. So these combined forces of China and the other powerful countries can attack the US, and which eventually can affect the minor small countries such as our country itself, Malaysia, and also other countries that depends on the United States. Okay, so in fact, in 2021, in March 2021, China has been reported to have the strongest military force, placed first in comparison to the United States. So it is proven when China wins a sea war with 400 ships versus Russia and the United States of America with 202 ships. So this shows that they are empowering and they are trying to take down United States in the terms of power and also in the military forces. Okay, so this we can see that in matter of minutes, the China has the ability to cripple the United States military, which can eventually causes disruption to the infrastructure, to the military forces itself, and also the ports in the United States. Okay, so when United States is affected, it also affects all the other small countries as well. And for the sake of the safety of not only for the United States but also small vulnerable countries such as Malaysia and all other countries itself, it is safe for the Biden administration to repair the relationship with China and avoid any aggressive containment. So before I end, I would like to reinforce and restate our stand on the government side for today's debate, where this House believes that the Biden administration should repair their relations with China instead of pursuing aggressive containment with China in the forms of diplomatic threats, remilitarization of South China Sea and Japan, and trade restriction in the terms of safety on not only the US but also the entire world. That's all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you to the Prime Minister for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 19 seconds. Now I would like to call upon Leader of Opposition to deliver his or her speech. Here.
Am I audible? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, right. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, our motion for this morning is that this House believes that Biden administration should repair relations with China instead of pursuing aggressive containment of China. For example, diplomatic threats, remilitarization of South China Sea and Japan, and also the trade restriction. Okay, first, as a leader of opposition, I will first rebut the points given by the Prime Minister. Okay, she said that the occurrence of war will occur. But then just imagine if these two big countries have a relationship, have a good relationship, then they have both military power and cooperate, then we're gonna see that they're gonna monopolize or colonize other empires. And also, she said that China have actually have a good military power, but then actually US got more advanced technology as military weapons, so the advantage is at the US itself, and also US have more allies than China. They can get help from, for example, the Japan, and also the other countries that allies with the United States itself. Okay.
So, do you have any proof saying that that United States is still more powerful than China?
What?
Can you give any proof or evidences that saying that United States is still winning in terms of military forces over China?
Okay, first, US nation is more stable, because we got what we see right now is China's political is not as stable as the US. And second, China is right now is a developing nation, while US is already developed nation. So that's why in terms of military, in terms of technology, if there is a war occurrence, then who will people support? Who will the small nation support? Do they support US who gets a more advanced technology, more stable politics in their country, or they support China who has more problem in terms of political in their countries, and they don't have as advanced technology as US, and they also is a developing nations. They are not developed yet. Okay, so then let me give our stances from the opposition side. Is that we do not want China to rise in power, as it can bring more harm than good in terms of human rights, economy, and political. Okay, first, to build a relationship with other countries, first you need to have the similarities. But what we can see from the US and from the US and also China, they have difference in belief, different. They have no similarities that they can they can cooperate with. That's why they are not cooperating until now. They are not having a stable relationship until now because there are difference in belief. And furthermore, because of what? Because right now China is violating the human right. China is violating the human right. For example, like I said before, the China's political itself in his country is not stable. Because of what? Because they are violating the human right. If the US support the China, then it's like they are supporting the actions of China that are violating the human right. I give you example. For example, is that the religious freedom abuse, which is the People's Republic of China's government, is one of the worst abuses of the religious freedom in the world, and is openly hostile to members of all religious faith, including the Muslims in Uyghur, the Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhists, the Christ, and also the other religions. They are hostile to religions. What they do is that they slaughtered them, and over the years, what happened? They put them in the jail, they rap, and then they shoot them or however they want. They kill them however they want. Manslaughter. So and second is that it is China's government is avoiding or preventing the freedom of expression and the freedom of speech. Because of what? Because the Republic of China controls all the domestic news reporting through direct ownership of the news outlets, meaning that they only give news of what the governments want, not what the opinions of people, the opinions of the news reporter. They only reported what they want, meaning that they only reported what good in China, but not what's currently happening, what's really happening in China's right now. And then the third one is that fear of arbitrary arrest. The Chinese Communist Party has absolute control over the law enforcement and the judicial system, and it used both sides. It's used both to stifle calls from Chinese citizens for freedom, human rights, and rule of law. So this Chinese Communist Party will detain and will do whatever they want to whoever who do not supporting this ideology. And then China's also has a forced labor laws in China, where they doesn't allow these workers to freedom of association, and they are underpaid, and also what they are not giving benefits to these workers, such as the health benefits and so on. They are like suppressing these workers in their country itself. So that's why US shouldn't have a good relationship with China in terms of in power right now. Because of what? Because as the Prime Minister said, they said both are currently big nations, right? So if the US itself supporting the China, so they are like I mentioned before, supporting the action of China that is violating the human right, with this contradicting with the belief in the US, where they really approach the human right. They really support the human right. So there are not similarities in terms of that. How can they have a good relationship in the first place? So if because of what, if we do not stand with the oppressed, we are standing with the oppressor. So what will happen if the US is standing with the oppressor itself? Then it will cause a global mass issue, and it will cause other nations to lose its trust with the US itself and cut its ties with US. So are the US trying to just maintain good relationship with China instead of maintaining a good relationship with other nations, other small nations that may give them more benefit than China's itself? Because they currently right now, why not the government just want to maintain all the relationship that the US have right now, rather than cooperating or having a relationship with China, which can be proved by my speech just now, is that bring more harm than good in terms of the human right itself. So I think that's all from me. I raise my case. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to the Leader of Opposition for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 36 seconds. Now I would like to call upon Deputy Prime Minister to deliver his or her speech. Here.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I would like to thank the judges and the members of the opposition team and the members of the floor. Now, allow me to rephrase the motion for today's debate, which this House believes that the Biden administration should repair relations with China instead of pursuing aggressive containment of China. So we from the government side is standing to our motion in today's debate. So before that, I would like to address the point given by the first leader of the opposition team regarding the big countries that have a good relationship between each other that will lead to monopoly will then monopoly the other empire. So we think that the opposition team is still have not understand about the repairing relationship between these two nations. So we know that there are many countries who's having a good relationship, who have diplomatic relationship in under US and under US mostly. So by repairing the relationship between these countries, we are able to bring the whole world in one unity. So it means that we don't have to pick any sides anymore, because now these two big nations are in one side. So it will lead to a more peaceful environment to our nation. And regarding the points by the leader of opposition team saying that China politics is still unstable compared to the US, but the opposition team failed to give us the real proof that China military is still considered as lower than the US by giving us the number of ships or something. But instead they say China is still lower than US because of its politics, and its politics is unstable and so on. But we have to bear in mind that China is such a huge country, and the quality can also take side in the military. So it means that they have such huge country, so it means it can lead to huge buildings of military from our based on what we know. So and also regarding the China threat about the Uyghur and the freedom of speech, we want to build relationship between these countries. We don't want to encourage other people to follow the way of the China is treating people nowadays. We are not approaching towards that. We are approaching towards better economy, better military service, not to copy each other's way of governing. And that's why we think that the opposition side points is not as relevant. It's not relevant. Allow me to, I don't think I have enough time. So I will move on to my first point, which is the relationship between the China and the Biden administration will give a huge benefit to the health. So regarding the health, we want to resume the tradition of public health cooperation, because US and China governments have a long history of collaborating to combat virtually every global health crisis of the past half century. We don't understand why the opposition side saying that the China and US has never been in a good term, because in the history, these two countries used to work together to virtually find cure, to virtually find the medicine for these health crises such as HIV, AIDS, SARS, H5N1, influenza, Ebola, and so on. But however, for the official response towards the COVID-19 nowadays, is regrettability stands out as an exception, because we know that the relationship between these two countries is at stake nowadays. So as COVID-19 is unpredictably severe in this pandemic, so that is why we require a return of the historical precedent of collaboration between these countries. Because imagine if two forceful researchers together built in a huge platform to research for the COVID-19, we may find a real cure on this coronavirus. This will not only benefit these two countries, but it will benefit the whole world, because we know that COVID-19 is such a huge burden to the whole world nowadays, and we still could not find a true cure. We find a vaccine, but we still keep getting Delta, getting more threatening by the virus. So if these two huge administrations are together, we might find a true cure of COVID-19, and that is what we want to address to the opposition side. Why does the relationship between this country is considered as a threat to the humanity? And the next one, my second point is the relationship between Biden administration and China can give rise to the economy, because US and China have been a major trading partners for years. And this proves that the opposition side is wrong, saying that the US and China has never been in good term because they are so different in opinions. But historically, saying that US and China have been a major trading partners for years, as they rely on each other's supply and to chain for input goods and service consumed within their border. But since China and US relations are still at the lowest point, especially during the coronavirus, because US because of the virus coming from the China, now the economy is not as huge as the usual history, the history. So imagine if these two huge countries are together to cooperate and have towards the same economic growth. This will lead to a huge development towards the economic growth and benefit the individual country who give huge invention on either this country. So we from the government side is standing towards our motion for today, which is to repair the relationship between the Biden administration and China. That's all from us. Thank you.
All right, thank you to the Deputy Prime Minister for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 56 seconds. Now, we shall hear the speech from the Deputy Leader of Opposition. Here.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Thank you. My speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Good morning, Mr. Speaker, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that the House believes that Biden administration should repair relations with China instead of pursuing aggressive containment of China. First of all, we as the opposition team believe that this statement is wrong and completely abhorrent. Before I start with my argumentation, let's have a few pieces of rebuttal, shall we? Number 1, the government team has tried to tell you that repairing relationship between both countries, bringing more good than harm. But the thing is right now, they're only focusing on the health sector, the occurring war, and also the economy. But before that, let me explain to you, let me rebut first coming from the Deputy Prime Minister points about the health side, about the repairing relationship between both countries, ensure more safety. First of all, does repairing relation between US and China guarantee their ally safety at the first place? Because we believe that US has a big allies compared to China allies, right? They hold a huge power. They hold a major power in the country. But then we need to consider back about their allies. Having the trust issue with their allies is the biggest management at the first place. And second, China is a huge country and developing country. We never deny that, but still, China have a lowest economic stability compared to US, since it has US has a bigger cash flow compared to China. And then regarding the Uyghur people cases violation, they say that if repairing of the relationship will not encourage for the US to follow the violation as well. But the thing is, right now, when US repair the relationship with China, of course, the other nation will follow the trend, will follow the action of China violation of the human right of the Muslim people, of denying their rights in their own country itself. So about the health sector, they want to resume public tradition of health sector, and both of these countries used to work together in history. But first of all, in our today's work, they both work together under the supervision of WHO, which is the World Health Organization, right? Under the supervision, because they know they cannot trust each other. Because first, let us put our mind that now, even if pandemic is still occurring, the US citizens really put the hate into this Asian in their country. Why? Because they put the blames onto this China of how the pandemic is start to occur in our words nowadays, how the pandemic is start to spread, disseminate into our world nowadays, right? So I don't see why the point coming from the government is really strong of this health sector. So their case will fall again, especially for combating the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, rising to the economy, major trading partners historically, but this will lead to my first argumentation. But before that, is there any POI? Cool. Let me start with my first argumentation then. Today, I will be talking to you about 2 points sit down. Now, my first argument is to create unfairness. No, thank you. Create unfairness traders with their allies. Why this matter? So, enormous global economic imbalance have resulted from a Chinese model which artificially prioritizing savings and investment over consumption. So this causes Chinese. No, thank you. Please sit down. This causes Chinese firms to flood global market with excess goods, destroying the prospect of reciprocity with most of its trading partners. So the imbalance are not the result of some mechanistic economic dynamic, like the involuntary movement. Rather, it is the consequence of two related phenomena driven by deliberate political intent, which is a Chinese political economy, which has been engineered to ensure that the Communist Party remains in power. And the second one, the party's determination to reshape international commerce in a way that guarantees China's, and therefore the parties will continue to success, right? So approximately, this setup creates a system which promotes and rewards over borrowing, over investment, and excess capacity. So in simpler words, if this motion is being accepted, China and US will forever be rising. Yes.
Okay, can you give us proof on Can you give us proof on the allies of the US in terms of lowest economic stability? Thank you.
In terms of?
You mentioned previously about the lowest economic stability.
Yes, of course. Again, I already mentioned to you about how the allies how the allies are trusting each other to support each other in case of a crime or war occur, right? So if if the US are having a good relationship with China, of course the allies will feel insecurity towards their own allies, which is the US, right? For example, US allies is UK, United Kingdom, which is the biggest power as well in our world today, right? So I continue with what about the Biden's administration? So their notion is want to sustain their supremacy in Asia Pacific region, right? So this will lead to power domination of both countries in our world. So what happened when two big power hold the world in their hand? It will cause more harm than good, because why? Both countries collapse into pure anarchy. So the minor country will also be affected not only in economy, health sector, and war between their allies, right? So instead, we should put the pressure to China by not repairing the relation between both countries. Hence, we can see that the government is addressing the wrong stakeholders again. So thus, if this motion is approved, it doesn't give any benefit, yet the sufferings to other citizens in long run when both of the countries hold the biggest power. Now, to next level of analysis, difference of political belief in both countries. How this cause more harm than good under the keyword of political dynamic. Now, let me tell you the ideology that both countries are holding to, which is China, which is communism, and the US is the conservatism. So when we talk about communism, how they believe is stricter, that portraying how the government side is trying to jeopardizing the innocent life of their citizen itself. So by repairing, it will cause more harm, more worsen, more damage. Why? Because different political belief will not cause any good when it's completely different of how they are standing to, which is their political belief, right? So US as a democratic nation, if they repair the relationship with China, other countries will also follow, as I mentioned before, causing China raising more in power. So China thinks that their government and policies are already okay. So they don't feel the need to repair their policies. Meanwhile, their citizens are under oppressed, as my Prime Minister has already explained about the eager people who are being hidden from the media while they are being attacked day by day. Therefore, the point from government side seem kryptonite with what they are standing for. Thus, if you uphold this motion, both stakeholders, which is the citizens in US and China, and also the innocent people in minor country will be at stake. Therefore, we really believe why this motion is unnecessary and should be really opposed. So, Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we really believe that we oppose the motion because it brings more harm than good in terms of human rights, political and social aspect. And I'm very proud to oppose. Thank you.
Okay, thank you to the Deputy Leader of Opposition for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 38 seconds. We shall now hear the speech from the government whip. Here.
Can I be given 1 minute? I need to fix some technical problem.
Okay.
Can I just turn off the video and speak?
Is that because that you're going to lag? You are going to lag because of the video?
Yes, I have a problem with the camera.
Okay, sure.
Ladies and gentlemen, today I will summarize the debate and explain why my team won. First, I will rebut the other team's argument. Then I will reinforce my team's points and explain why they still stand at the end of this debate. First of all, I would like to restate our stand on this topic, which is this House believe that the Biden administration should repair relations with China instead of pursuing aggressive containment of China. First, I'm going to rebut the statement given by the leader of opposition, which he said that they does not want China to rise in power because China violate human rights. Well, if the US have a good relation with China, they can, if they have some, they will have some influence on them, and they can stop the violation of their human right by giving them advice and by obtaining the support of other countries that side with them to also advise China to stop the violation of human rights. And also we know that countries such as Malaysia, Brunei, and other Muslim countries are siding with both China and the US. And if they are, imagine if they are separated, if US and China are separated and have clashes between each other, then one of those countries will choose sides, and then they cannot like advise them on to stop the violation of human rights. And then the leader of opposition also talk about the forced labor law, and the forced labor law also can be prevented because we know that in the US they have like humanitarian forces. So and it is such a big forces, and this force can told them to stop the forced labor law because it is against of human rights. And that on political sides, they say about the Communist Party. Well, it can also be prevented if the US have some sort of influence on China, because they can again advise them on political matter. And then the deputy leader of opposition said about her concern about the guarantee of ally safety if the US sides with if they fix their relationship with China. But how is that can occur? Because if they have good relationship with each other, then their allies will also unite. There will not be any riot or any clashes between the allies, and they can each and those countries they do not have to choose which one they have to sides with. They can just choose both of the sides, and that will prevent whatever misunderstanding or clashes or rivalry to occurs. And then she also assumed that if other countries side with either US or China, and for example, China violate human rights, those countries will also violate human rights. Well, that is not true, because all these people in the country have their own conscience. So they will not follow what is against human rights. So it is wrong to just assume that these countries that follow one countries will follow the bad things they do in that countries. Yes, please.
Can you prove what is the human right violation?
Can I provide the human right violation?
Yeah.
I mean,
Same
in
as
China. Like, okay, the human right violation in China, for example,
I mean in the US.
In the US. Okay, for example, in the US, well, whichever part of the country, there always be a human right violation, even though it is occur in a small scale. Okay, so for your question, in the US, the violation is such as the violation is such as in Palestine, where they support Israel, and then that caused the Israel to violate the Palestinians' right. But that does not necessarily mean if those allies will also do what they do. In fact, those allies advise them to not do what they did. So it is we can see that other countries is actually told them to do good than bad. And then she also said about the communism brought by Communist Party. Well, in China there is a Communist Party, and we know that US is such a big influence, such a big country, and has a big force. So when they advise China to maybe abolish the Communist Party at all, they probably take it into consideration, because US itself is a big force that need to be considered. Next, I'm going to reinforce the point given by my side, which is my my Prime Minister said that when we repair the relation with China, instead of pursuing aggressive containment, it will prevent the clashes between two huge forces. We know that China and US has a strong military forces. So if they clash, they may affect a large scale of the world population due to the allies country. Because of diplomatic support, there will be some military to help, and this will lead to many casualties later on if they ever clash with each other. And then in terms of health, China and United States have a lot of professional scientists and developers. In fact, they are a massive distributor of vaccine and medicine. So if Biden administration repair relation with China, the healthcare sectors from both sides can work together. And in today's scenario of COVID-19, we believe they may find the cure instead of producing individual vaccines. And then in terms of economy, it will affect individual countries that support one side if they are not united, if US and China are split. So with repairing the relationship with China, instead of pursuing this aggressive containment, we can we can all the other countries that allies with them, and even they themselves can improve their economic state. So to sum up, this House believes that the Biden administration should repair relations with China instead of pursuing aggressive containment of China. Thank you.
Thank you to the government whip for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 23 seconds. Now I would like to call upon opposition whip to deliver his or her speech. Here.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Right, okay. So my internet connection is actually quite lag. So if possible, could those that are not speaking could possibly turn off their camera if possible. Can I request that? Because I'm afraid that I might suddenly get disconnected. Hello, can you guys hear me?
Okay, all right.
All right, okay, thank you. Okay. All right, so I'll be starting in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, everybody. In today's debate, our motion is this House believes that the Biden administration should repair relations with China instead of pursuing aggressive containment of China. Now, on the opposition side, our stance is that we do not want China to rise more in power, as it brings more harm than good in terms of human rights, economy, and also politics. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me first give some rebuts to the government side. Now, the government side mentions how China is actually rising in military power, and therefore one day US they will catch up with the US. Now the US itself, even if China have many military ships compared to US actually have better technology because they have better nuclear weapons, and they are also known for their military power and also better military training. Therefore, even if China is trying to rise in power in terms of military power, USA is still doing their research and development for military purposes, and therefore it is actually impossible for China to actually catch up unless US stops their research and development. Now, ladies and gentlemen, actually, when the government says that China is doing their military trying to increase their military power. Now, even if China's power is as strong as US, the combination between two of this power is actually causes more harm than good towards mankind, towards everybody, towards the whole world in Earth itself. Why? Because if these two parties actually combine together, then we will see a new colonizing empire that comprises between US and China. Thus, the small countries such as Malaysia, Philippines, and also other developing countries will face another point of colonization once again. Therefore, we want to prevent that because we've already achieved our independence. Therefore, if we see America and China being in power again, then the small nations might face another form of colonization.
May I please?
Yes.
Why are the opposition keep assuming that the relationship between the China and US, when the China and US has good relationship, everyone has no respect at all at human rights?
Now, okay, good question. After this, I will no longer accept POI. Okay. So now let's imagine now if US and China are in power, they have absolute power in terms of economy, in terms of economy and military power. Therefore, they can suppress other nations from voicing out against them. Because if US and China are together, then if people voices out China's violations of human rights, then China will try to ask US to also defend them, and also we can no longer voice out our concerns with the China citizens, and if we do voice out, then we will face many crises with China and US also. Therefore, we cannot protect the citizens of China from oppression. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the government also mentions how China and US can help in terms of development and research for health. Now, ladies and gentlemen, even if they do work together, what is the guarantee that they will share to other nations? Perhaps since these two are together, perhaps they will most likely monopolize the medicine in this world. They might ask more money for the medicine. Meanwhile, if these two remain separate, let's say US provides medicine and China provides medicine, therefore they will compete to give better medicine to the world, and also they will compete on which medicine will people choose better than the other. Therefore, it will strive the competition between them in a healthy way, because they will strive to give better medicine. Secondly, they can also we as the other nations have better buying power to the medicine, and have options for the medicine. Next, in terms of rising in economy, how US and China relationships will actually rise in economy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, even if US get a better relationship with China, in reality, US won't actually get any benefit in terms of economy, because in China, China is already rising in power. Is actually currently trying to rise in power in terms of economy in the Asian parts of the world. Thus, if US does not try to compete with China, and instead are being in good relationships with China, even if it will benefit US, it will actually not give benefit to the whole world. Why? Because China and US will monopolize the economy, and thus causing the Asian countries more harm, because they will have no power to rise their own economy. Next, can these two countries actually develop trust with each other? Because they have two different political beliefs, as we on the opposition side have already mentioned. Thus, causing us to actually believe that that US as a democratic country should actually voice out their concerns about the China's violations of human rights. And also, we believe that in terms of economy, US won't actually have compared to the benefits to the US to the harm of the China citizens. It is a concern for us to actually prioritize the human rights of China itself. Thus, ladies and gentlemen, with that, I rest my case. I have never been so proud to oppose this motion today. Thank you.
All right, thank you to the opposition whip for the speech. The speaker spoke for 7 minutes and 51 seconds. Now, both the government and opposition are being given 1 minute to prepare their reply speech. All right, the time is up. I call upon the speaker from the opposition side to deliver their reply speech. Here.
Hi, am I audible?
Yes.
Right. My speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, ladies and gentlemen, now it is time to wrap up our debate and introduce some main clashes that went on during this debate. First, before that, I want to point out the flaws from the government side, that they give us unclear mechanism about how they want to give a good relationship, how they want to repair a good relationship between US and China. But they provide us with giving advice and not just giving a solid mechanism on how they are trying to portray to us about how they want to fix their relationship, right? So by advising, it's not going to work, because even US right now, the Biden itself already give a loud criticism to China about the violation of human rights, but still there is no action taken by the country of China, right? So that seems that their case is weak again, just to give some advices about the violation of human rights. So that means that their case will fall. Number 2, the rise in health sector, and also about the economic, they always mention about the in history, but now nowadays we can see that how US citizens start to spread, start to disseminate the hate toward the Asian in the US country itself. First, starting from the pandemic starts, they start to put the blames on how the occurrence of the pandemic to the Chinese, to the Asian in the US country. So giving this, it means that if we approve this motion, does that mean that they might even kill the Asian and cause more harms towards the innocent people, innocent life that are happening to live in US country, right? Number 2, rising in economy about trading. I already mentioned about how the unfairness traders of China in trading economy, right? Of how they manipulate, how they dominate about the enormous global economic imbalance that resulted from Chinese model, which artificially prioritizes saving and investment over consumption. So this causes Chinese firms to flood global market with excess goods, destroying the prospect of reciprocity with most of its trading partners. So their case will fall again. Now, why our side should win? Because we cater the stakeholders of the citizens of China that is being denied of their rights of as a human being. Also, we protect the the abusement of work labor that the Chinese Communist Party that has absolute control over law enforcement and also the judicial system, right? Also, number two, we really clear about how we don't want China to develop in more power. Meanwhile, its citizens are currently suffering. Now, number two, we really giving you a clear point when how the unfairness traits of their allies with different belief of political, because how we can see now, Persia and Rome will never be united because of how their belief, how their difference in belief are aparting themselves, are aparting these two countries, right? And number three again, how we really sure about the Biden's notions of how they want to repair this relationship is that they want to sustain their supremacy in Asia-Pacific regions. Hence, we believe that this motion should really be opposed, and these are currently completely abhorrent coming from the government side, because they only solve the problem in just in a short term, but we coming from the opposition side, we believe that we solve when it comes to outcomes, we achieve direct problem solving mechanism that not only in short term but also sustain in long term. So, but again, we are not jeopardizing any stakeholders, especially the US and China citizens, and also the innocent life that currently live in minor countries. Hence, we believe that this motion should be opposed and should be rejected. That's all from me. I rest my case. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now to conclude, let's welcome the speaker from the government side to give their reply speech.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, ladies and gentlemen. So in this session, I would like to explain to you why the government team should win this debate against the opposition team. Okay, first and foremost, we have managed to tell you that we have managed to tell you a very clear mechanism in the repairing the relationship within the US and the China. And also we managed to state you the urgency on why China-US relations are still at their lowest point, where there are many confrontational measures intact, such as economic barriers. And we have seen that the opposition team is suggesting that that colonization can occur if relations are being repaired. But how come colonization can occur in the middle of a pandemic? Everyone is still busy focusing on their recovering and boosting the economy. Okay, so we don't think that is relevant in this debate. Okay, so in the first point, as the opposition leader, I managed to tell you that that if we have repaired the relationship between US and China, we can avoid the occurrence of war. We have also provided the analysis, the evidences in proof of how China is winning over the US in terms of military powers. We also provided you with analysis, with proof saying that the China are winning against USA with 202 ships. And we also gave the POI to the opposition leader, said that he said that US is still on top of the list. But we asked for proof, but there are no proof given. There are no evidences given, no analysis given. The opposition leader only managed to say that US is still overpowering the China in the military powers because of it has more stable political and a more developed nation. That is a complete nonsense in answering the POI given by outside. Okay. So the second point that we managed to give is that in terms of health, these two countries, when the relationship is repaired, can work together to find cure for diseases. They also managed, this has happened in the past, where they managed to find cure for HIV and Ebola. And now, currently in the pandemic, they also managed to come out with their own vaccines. But imagine if these two forces combined, they can search for the real cure for this pandemic. There will be no variety of variants that is coming along, and we will be free of pandemic right now. Okay, and also we also stated that there will be benefits in the terms of economy, because we know that both countries are major trading countries, and even right now China is trying to top US in the terms of economy, and investors are focusing on China. So imagine if there is a cooperation in between these two countries, there will be a huge economic growth of the world. Okay. So in the opposition side, we managed to see there are many weaknesses and many incorrect informations that are given. So first thing that they say that they only managed to highlight that China is violating human rights. That is why they should not, US should not should not have a repair relationship with China. But instead, US also does not hold up for human rights. There are cases human slaughtering in US is higher, and also they are against the Palestinians and supporting the Israel. So that is also a proof that US and China are both violating human rights, and that is not a very clear case, and that is why their stand in this second point is has fallen down. And also we managed to see that the burden of proof by the given by the government team is not answered by our opposition leader. And also we can see that from this, they don't prove us that relationship between these two countries will affect other countries in terms of violating and also acting the supporting of the oppressor. Okay, and one of the POIs given to the deputy opposition leader is to give examples of who are the allies at least in the terms of lower economic stability, but they don't give us the answers. And in fact, the facts are not right. Okay, so there are only assumptions given, and there are also no rebuttal on the terms of health. Okay, so we also managed to give the examples on how the US and China are competing and cooperating to form the cure for viruses for HIV and Ebola. Okay, so we can find out that they are denying the reality, where because both of US and China are both huge powers, so both will have their own allies and their own circle of power. And instead, in this current situation, we should have focusing on repairing relationship, which can eventually help each countries to recover, and eventually the whole world to recover, especially in this pandemic. So with that, I would like to emphasize once again that the debate, the winning of the debate should be given to the government team. And with that, I say thank you.
TYDP unmute.
Sorry. That is all for this round's debate session. On behalf of the House, I thank the educators for their existence. I congratulate all the debaters on their performance. Now, the host will assign all the educators to the breakout room to discuss. Okay, all the debaters and all the audience can leave the room now. Pukul semula pada Dewan Usul pada pukul 12.30 hari. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih.
Thank you.
Thank you.